Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Denver. We are so grateful you decided to join us today. Whether you are with us in person or watching online, we want you to know you are welcome here. We are so very grateful you have chosen to spend time with us. We are a place, a space, and a face of love. We are a spiritual community teaching ancient wisdom and new thought principles that empower our lives and the lives of others. We invite you to join us every Sunday at the historic Grant Avenue Community Center and Sacred Place at 216 South Grant Street in Denver, Colorado, and online on our YouTube channel at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. This is a place where all people, in all our diversity, on all our different paths, and with all our individual and unique expressions of life, may come together to celebrate our inherent oneness as perfect manifestations of the one Spirit through the use of science of mind principles. We recognize that our thoughts create our journey, and by affirming love, faith, compassion, and joy, we attract beauty, peace, and purpose into our lives. We give thanks for our uniqueness and our diversity of life, while we celebrate the one life that is all life, God's life. We come together each Sunday to hear inspiring messages by our minister, Reverend Elzia Sekou, and our various guest speakers, as well as share in fellowship and collective conversations. Plus, we trust you will be inspired by our special guest musicians. And now, here is our opening song, The Garden by Eddie Watkins, Jr.
There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden where God's grace blooms. There is a garden where everything grows, a beautiful garden where love is sown. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden, that garden is you. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden, that garden is you. Such a beautiful garden, that garden is you.
In our seats, take a nice deep breath and relax. You have some coffee. And then we'll get started. We're going to start with a song by Elzia Sekou. It's called The Garden. It's a beautiful garden, that garden is you. And just remember what a great day this is, the day that we're all here together, and we say hi to everybody at home who's listening. Everybody, oh, I'm speaking too quietly. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, I will speak up. I'll yell. So sorry about that. Everyone just relax and let's close our eyes and let go of everything that it took to get here today. I know some people had trouble getting here. And just take a nice deep breath and relax and enjoy the fact that today it's getting warmer out after a cool, rainy week. And know that we are all here together and we are all just wonderful together. We are brothers and sisters in arms, and we bless Diego and the music of Susan. And take another deep breath and let's relax into today's reading, which is called Flowers and Weeds, and it's from Alan Cohen's book, A Daily Dose of Sanity. Have you ever noticed that when you are about to take a significant step in your life, make a major change, or approach a goal, events show up to oppose it? This is a common phenomenon and no accident. It is playing out a universal law which, as you understand it, can help you overcome and move beyond obstacles that confront you. When you set a goal or chart a course, you become keenly aware of two things. One, everything that matches your goal and can help you achieve it. And two, everything that opposes your goal and might stand in your way. In my garden, when I stimulate the growth of a plant with extra water and fertilizer, the plant grows more rapidly, and so do the weeds. The water and fertilizer accelerate their growth as well, and I have to pluck them to help the plant progress. The appearance of obstacles is not a bad thing at all. They can, in fact, be very helpful. Like weeds that sprout as the plant comes to flower and fruit, obstacles are a sign that you and your project are growing. Fears and doubts are absolutely normal, and they need not shut us down. When you face fears, doubts, and resistance from ourselves or others, remember why you want your goal and why you deserve it. Your original intention and motivation will help you pluck the weeds and let your plant grow to fruition. Even better, while you grow your project, you will also be growing yourself. You will accept the fear and doubt, but not let it overwhelm you. You'll be better able to accept that they are simply a part of your journey. Do not be surprised when issues come up along your path. If they do come up, excuse me. If they don't come up, enjoy the ride. But if they do come up, consider them opportunities for healing and empowerment that will leave you far ahead of where you would be if they had not surfaced at all. And here's a couple quotes. First one is from Alan Cohen. Whenever I step forward to claim a big new yes, all of my old no's come back to greet me. I choose to use obstacles as opportunities to accept and believe in myself, strengthen my resolve, reach my goals, and expand my consciousness. And then there's Ernest Holmes. We did not create our nature. We cannot change its inherent reality. We are what we are, and we use this nature for better or for worse. And now here's our great friend Susan Clark is back with us today, and her song is Dancing with the Universe. And here we go. Hit it, Susan.
CSL Denver, Susan Clark with you to provide some music for the service. This is a brand new song for me. I just learned it, especially for you. It's called Dancing with the Unknown, and it was performed by Valkyrie Beatflow. Unusual name. Hope you enjoy it. I don't know what tomorrow brings, but I've learned to trust in simple things. The road ahead might twist and turn, but through it all I live and learn. The unknown's a friend, not a fear. I'll walk the path and hold you near, hold you near. I'm dancing with the unknown. where magic lies. I'll face the unknown with open eyes. I'm dancing with the unknown. Uncertainty's a part of life. I trust the flow, I'll be alright. I'm letting go what I can't see, embracing what's meant to be. Oh, embracing what's meant to be. I'm dancing with the unknown. I'm not afraid, I'm not alone. Uncertainty is a part of life. I trust the flow, I'll be alright. Letting go of what I can't see, embracing what's meant to be. In the chaos, I find peace. The unknown brings such sweet release. I don't need all the answers now. I'll trust the journey will show me how.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to CSL Denver, a place, a space, and a face of love. A spiritual community teaching ancient wisdom and embodying universal principles so that we are a divine direct connection to all there is that allows us to move with ease and grace and really begin to step into who and what we are. So at this moment, you know, there's so much uncertainty, and that's just where we're going to start this month. This month's theme is the power of uncertainty, the power of uncertainty. And so as we prepare to step into that, let's just take a moment to go within and to center ourselves in that idea that there is power in uncertainty. And so infinite spirit, source of all life, wisdom and understanding, we pause in this sacred moment and turn within. With open hearts and receptive minds, we attune ourselves to the guidance that is all around us and within us. May every thought today move in the direction of clarity. May every word spoken be anchored in truth. And may every action we take be a conscious step towards wholeness. We affirm that we stand in the current of a universal intelligence that is receptive, responsive, and forever revealing itself to us. From this awareness, we are grateful. For this guidance, we are available. And for this unfolding, we say yes, and so it is. Amen. And so this topic of uncertainty that we are going to embark on this month, I'm sure most of us, if not all of us, this week, last week, the coming week, this exact moment right now, have a ton of uncertainty. Uncertainty about the gas prices that I don't know. Uncertainty about the gas prices. Uncertainty about that hamburger you used to get that you could probably get for $8 that now costs $18. There is an uncertain, and those are the small uncertainties. There's some other things that I don't even want to go into that allows us, if we're not careful, to be pushed off course, to not tap into the wisdom that is within each and every one of us to move through these moments. And so often today, when we hear the word uncertainty, we think of a moment where it's void, where I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. I'm just at wit's end. And I'm here to tell you that today, that is not the case. That uncertainty is the starting block to life itself. And it is the starting block for understanding who and what we are. A place where we can step into the clarity of a moment and feel into the environment, feel into the situation, feel into the problem, if you will. And there are no problems. There are only opportunities for us to step up. Because we have to understand and remember that in this teaching, that words, ideas, concepts, images have power. And that, as we said earlier, that we live in a universe that is responsive to us. And so we have to be very careful. That responsiveness goes all the way down to your very cells. Right now, if we was to eat some candy or something sweet, which I just love, my body knows immediately that something has changed, right? It is receptive to that sugar going through my body, and it reacts or acts, not react, it acts. And so that same thing happens with us. And so we want to look today at this idea of uncertainty being the starting block, the place where faith, intuition, courage, and creativity are awakened, asking us to stand before the unknown with full evidence that there is a way out. There is a next step. There is a place where that uncertainty becomes the fertilizer for the new seed that is being planted. Now, when we think about uncertainty, it's a point or a place for choice, not for fear, not for any of the things that customarily happen or we think about when we think about uncertainty. Because I want to suppose this idea at the very outset. So if we go back in time, before there were universities and before there were laboratories and all the quantum physics and all these words that we use to try to describe and get close to the infinite, before any of that stuff happened, there were a group of people, if you will, across the globe that sat in the plains and sat in the mountains and sat by the river and were open to the possibilities of what is this thing called life and how do we navigate it. I've seen the buffalo out there and they got in some bad situations. I saw these things in the mountains and they didn't turn out the way I thought, but they were able to sit in that unknown, in that mystery, and intuit and feel into and learn how to communicate with the divine. How many of you are practicing that language? I mean, you know, we got all kinds of language. We got emoji language and sign language and English language and Spanish language. But how many of us are learning the language of the divine? That moment where we have to be still, and here's the kicker, and no, not still and think about it, not still and be in some uncertain point where I gotta try to figure this thing out. It says be still and know. Now, we live in a fast-paced world right now. It's hard to do that. It's hard to be still And it's hard to know with so many things coming at you. I don't know. I think about AI and what AI can do for us on the plus or minus side of the ledger. You figure what part of the ledger you're dealing with. But it creates this opportunity, not for uncertainty, not to get too caught up in the image, but look at the process of what it does. How it steps into an uncertain moment. Because most of the time when people go to an AI chat bot, if you will, they are uncertain about something. They're trying to ask the question about something as simple as what's the best place to eat in my neighborhood? Or what is life? I don't know. I'm trapped up right now. But the one thing that the AI, I think, provides us as a model, when that question comes forth, it does not step into an uncertain moment. It says, all right, well, let me go and see what resources I have. Let me go and listen, if you will, to a language that elucidates, put a light on, shine it bright on all things. And then I'm going to present it to you. And then you got a choice. You have a choice. And so when we understand that this place of uncertainty is not a passive place. It's an active place. It's a place to engage. It's a place to be involved so that we begin to learn not only to listen to the divine intelligence, but to speak that same language. To speak that language. And now, it's not always a language that is understandable if you're not attuned to it. Because you see, this information, this intelligence, this code, if you will, that comes to us every day in every way is immense, and it shows itself in many different ways. I can go to China and look at a symbol with two lines actually crossed, and look at that and said, okay, somebody made two scratch marks. Maybe they were trying to, how you want to see if your pen is right, and then you just start, But in China, those two symbols means human being. There's a code there. There's a language that's being spoken that if you're not attuned to it, you miss the point. You miss the point. And so when we live in a world that is oriented towards intelligence, there is nothing uncertain. There's no need to be paralyzed. There's no need to stand in doubt. That is the time for us to realize what uncertainty is. And if we look at this first slide tells us uncertainty is not the enemy of faith. It is the very ground from which faith grows. God does not wait for us to have it all figured out. He meets us in that not knowing. And it is there that transformation begins. It's there in that unsureness, in that unclarity, in that darkness, if you will, that these things happen. I got into a serious debate with a good friend of mine yesterday. We were screaming at each other. That's what I call a good debate. And we were talking about this whole idea of the beginning, of how things started and this whole mystery of life. And he made this statement about the black hole, that, there's nothing there. And I said, well, wait a minute now, let's just take a step back. Because when we look at the science of black holes contain everything: light, darkness, and anything in between. So when you hear someone talk about where there's this darkness, and unfortunately, we have put some bad labels on darkness. But I'm here to submit that it is in that darkness, that uncertainty, that moment that everything is created. Because if we look at the Big Bang, I mean, there are many different stories, but I like that one. When the Big Bang happens from this dark spot, this hole, as they say, it emits life. The light comes out of it. So when we start doing these crazy comparisons of light and dark, we have stepped into an uncertain moment. And we have stepped into an idea that creates separation that only leads to confusion, uncertainty. Did I say uncertain? Oh, yeah. Uncertainty, and a place where we are totally without a communication line. We had that program, I forget, it was a game show, but you had a lifeline. You could call somebody. If you got in trouble, you didn't know the answer, and they had like $10,000 on the line, you could call somebody and get that answer. Well, we got that, we got that all the time. There's that old gospel song that, God is on the main line, tell him what you want. That's what we have to be. That's how we got to navigate, because the uncertainty is almost insurmountable. Now, I try to do all the good things. Don't happen all the time, but I'm still trying. But sometimes I look at any moment in life, and I am scared out of my wits. Let's just be honest. Because when I look at point A and I look at point D, and sometimes you're not in a position to make that connection. But when you are able to begin to see the things that are in place, boy, it looks pretty tantalizing. I'll put it in that word. It looks tantalizing. I won't put no good or bad on it, but it is an idea where we're just floating in the wind. But what I want to say is that uncertainty is calling us to a higher calling. We live in a world right now that is allergic, absolutely allergic to uncertainty. We got 14-day weathercasts. We got GPS that tell you you're going the wrong way before you make the turn. We are in a place, in a world that is so mysterious that we are trying to have all the answers right now, and that's just not how this works. It's not. Now, if somebody got a point to take, some debate with this idea, speak up now, as they say, or forever hold your peace, because it is in those moments that the creativity comes, that we are able to map things out, if you will. And even a map, that's a dangerous word too, because, we use these maps as if the map is the territory. If you go to the old Yugoslavia with a map that shows Yugoslavia, you will be lost for a very long time. And I don't care how much willpower, I don't care how much praying, I don't care how much meditation you do, you are not going to find Yugoslavia because it doesn't exist in that context anymore. So the map is just it's a proximity of the terrain, but you don't know what you got until you get in it. And that's what the uncertainty is calling us into. That's what it's calling us into. Not fear, not blame, not imagining these crazy things in your head. I won't give you any images to think of. I'll let you deal with your own. But this is a gift. This opportunity is a gift for us to step forth. Paul Tillich says this in this next slide. Doubt is not the opposite of faith. it is one element of faith. It is an element of faith. It is that thing that allows us to move in a way that creates wholeness. If we really think about it, because when we look at life as we know it, and we know it's still, I'll say evolving, but I think sometimes the better word is not evolving, because that we get stuck with this evolving thing sometimes. But it is revealing itself to us. And sometimes we call that revelation and evolution, or evolvement, right? But we know that even the one thing that we look at that we think is a oneness outside of the divine itself, whether it's a cell or us, it is made up of many components. And sometimes those components create a whole nother system. There's a respiratory system that we all have. There's a circulatory system we all have that's made up of all kinds of parts. And that's how life works. That's how we deal with this uncertainty. That's why we know that it is there. That's the starting block. That's the starting block. Now, this is not a new phenomenon. It's been around, like I said, when those ancestors of ours were sitting in the plain or next to the river or into the mountains. And one of the greatest examples of this, well, Moses is one. We can think about the uncertainty of Moses. Moses, I want you to go up in these mountains, and I'm going to have a conversation. Oh, we got some language conversation going on. And I want you to be still and know and listen. And what did Moses say? I need to see something. You calling me up into it's hard to get up in these mountains. I don't know whether to bring a coat or short pants. I mean, this is a difficult thing to do in these mountains. And what did Moses do? Moses went up and he asked, I need to see. And God said, Moses, you do not have the language right now to do that. So instead, I'm going to burn a bush over here just to show you what's going on. Moses said, ooh, okay, all right. Give me the commandments. I'm going back down. But think about it. But when you look at that story, think about all the people that was left down in the valley. What did they do? They started worshiping the calf. Because they were in this state of uncertainty. They weren't patient enough. They weren't developing their language enough to talk to God, to move through this so-called uncertainty. But now I think the point that we are right now, I think the most tantalizing story is Abraham. Abraham was told by God, as the story goes, I want you to drop it all. I want you to let go of everything. And in Genesis 12:1, this is what it reads. The Lord said to Abraham, or Abram at that time, go from your country, your people, and your father's home to the land I will show you. So basically, I need you to give it all up and go to the place that I will show you. Now, you know, what are we going to ask for? First thing, where the GPS? I need to see. I need the GPS to know where I'm going, because I need to know if the Starbucks is on the way or whatever it is. I need to know. I ain't just stepping out here on faith. But that's what we're being asked to do. You know, he had no map, no GPS, no 5-year plan, no none of that. He walked by faith and not by sight. That's what uncertainty is calling us into. We say these things very flippantly, I think, self-included. You know, this is a place here at the Center for Spiritual Living Denver. This is a place where we begin to look at the essence of things, not the pontification of things. I can take a point and I can pontificate with the best of them. But that's not what life is calling us to do. Life is calling us to be engaged, to step into these unsecure, uncertain moments so that something can arise from us, something that can be awakened in us to make it through, not just for ourselves. Why not just for ourselves? Well, because we know there is a oneness. Everything is connected to something else. And when I do better, you do better. Even if it's nothing but you see me doing better and have the idea that it's possible for me as well. Now, if I'm really engaged, I'll do some other things than just be, right? I'll start doing some helping. I'll help you dig up the garden so we can plant some new seeds. But we have to begin to get beyond this uncertainty of all the things going on around us. Because if we don't, we will be stuck and paralyzed. That I won't say always, but almost always lead to a bad situation. You don't want to get in the middle of the street trying to cross and cars are coming and get paralyzed trying to figure out which way to go, because that's going to be a real problem, right? You have to make a decision of how you're going to engage this thing called life, certain or uncertain, and you got to move. You got to move. And quiet as it's kept, we're not the first generation to have to deal with this. I'm not going to go there, but just think. There are stories and history for millennia, multiple millennia, that talks about how people who face difficulties, uncertainty, was able to make it through. Not groaning and grumping, and with a smile. With a smile, because they developed that language. They understood the necessity of uncertainty, right? The saints, the mystics, the poets, and the prophets have all walked this same way. Again and again, they arrived at the same conclusion, that the unknown is not outside of God's territory. It is the very terrain that God calls home. It's that uncertain. You think about if we continue with our Big Bang theory. There was a bunch of gas, clouds, that has congealed and done all kinds of things to you and I sitting here today. Now, if you saw the clouds and tried to see us, you'd think there's some uncertainty. There's no way in God's green earth. Ooh, that wasn't even around you, was it? No, there's no way in God's crazy clouds that there was going to be an earth. You'd have looked at that and you'd have been uncertain if somebody said, well, we're going to create some people that's going to create AI and airplanes and all kinds of things. You'd have said, boy, this person they are uncertain about what they're saying. That I can be assured of. But that's not how it goes. That uncertainty unfolded. They understood that our productive culture causes us to forget the divine connection, to forget that communication. So God is not waiting at a destination for us to arrive at. God is not standing at the finish line waiting impatiently for us to get there. Although that's what we've been told. But that's not the case. God is present in the uncertainty itself. And so as we step forward into that, I want to give you 3 tools to help us navigate, especially now. We need it. We need to share it. And the first thing is, uncertainty is not a stop sign. It is a sign to step into faith. This next slide by Alan Watts, one of my favorites. Alan says, faith has no preconceptions. It is a plunge into the unknown. Belief clings, but faith lets go. We walk around with a whole bunch of beliefs. But do you have any faith in those beliefs? Because if I do, I don't need to believe it anymore. I need to just step into it. I need to step. Uncertainty is an invitation to listen at a deeper level. It asks us to move from reaction to reflection, from fear to faith, from control, from control to communication. We back to that language again. And when we look at our ancient ancestors, how did they communicate, or how did they begin? They did it each and every way that you can think of. They looked at the stars. They looked at the river. They looked at the snowflake. They looked at everything to understand the language of the divine. But you got to pay attention. You got to be present. Can't get sidetracked with all this other stuff. Because if you do, you ever went to a test and you half studied? Yep. And you know, and you try to talk yourself into believing that you're ready. And you get in that test and you say, oh Lord, I made a mistake. I didn't do my homework. I didn't reflect enough. But we know that idea that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So I got to rely on that, but I got to lean into that. I gotta prepare for that, or else I'm gonna be moving from fear to fear to fear, not fear to faith. The human mind wants a map, a timeline, or something like that, but that's not what's going to happen. That's not how it happens. And so once we understand this, our idea that it's not a stop sign, it's a sign to call us forward. The second thing we need to know, we see this and we hear this all the time. Got to surrender. Uncertainty is a call to surrender to the mystery. This next thing from the Tao Te Ching says this: the Tao does not ask you to know the way. It asks you to be still enough to feel it. Uncertainty is not a detour from the path. It is the invitation to return to the roots of deep stillness. Deep stillness. Now that's hard, given what we're dealing with today. Deep still. Now we can be still, but deep still, that means I can sit here and hear my heartbeat, not from my heart, but in my hand or in my feet, because that oneness is circulating all around. Are we doing that? Are we listening to that? Are we listening to whoever and whatever say all kinds of things that gets us off track? Because we are, I asked us, let's take a step back. Let's take a step back. Because this moment is when we stop fighting long enough to feel the presence of the divine. When we surrender, we stop fighting. We stop trying to figure it all out, and we just allow the divine flow of intelligence to move through the world. Now, once we've done that, we begin to see that uncertainty is the doorway to the next reiteration, the next rebirth, the next, pick the word that means newness, wholeness, oneness, into another way of living, in another way of seeing. It's a doorway to faith and understanding, this uncertainty thing. And Ernest Holmes says this. Ernest Holmes, our founder, says, nature will not let us stay in any one place for too long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfolding and advancement of the soul. Truer words have never been spoken. That's a month-long meditation right there by itself. Just trying to understand, just trying to feel into it, just because that is the nature of the universe. The nature of the universe. Uncertainty is not a lack of faith. It is the point where faith is being stretched, refined, and awakened. That's what we're dealing with. Just 200 years ago, there was no such thing as a TV. Most definitely no such thing as the internet. But somebody kept searching, and they awakened to this idea of life, of information, of a code, if you will. And they leaned into it. This doorway is the very entrance to where faith learns to stand in the question and understand that we walk by faith. You look at any invention, any law, any of that. Somebody said, I wonder what? I wonder how. And it revealed itself to them. So as we enter this doorway, let me say this. Let me just give you a quick story because I know our time is short. There was a lady named Miriam who worked for the forestry department up in the mountains. And she did it for 40 years. She was the caretaker of the mountains. They almost wanted to call it her mountain. And she knew all the nooks and crannies and paths and everything. But then one day, after 40 years of working on that mountain, she began to lose her sight. And her granddaughter had heard so many stories about this mountain and her grandmother and so forth. And she went to visit her, not knowing that she was losing her sight. And she said, Grandma, I want to go on this hike, but I see you losing your sight. And the grandma said, oh, no. I'm ready to go. Let's go right now. Because she understood that she had learned the language to be able to navigate. By sight? No. But by sound, by feeling, by taste of the moss elements in the air. And she was able to traverse the paths and tell her daughter, granddaughter, just hold up. Do you hear that stream? She said, yeah, okay, when we get that stream, we got to go left. She understood that there were more ways to communicate than just the normal ways. And they made it to the summit, and they were able to do all the things on the mountain that she had come to experience with her grandmother. And the granddaughter said, well, how did you figure that out? Because I walk by faith and not by sight. And so it is. So as we take this moment right now, we step into prayer. We step into that idea where all things are possible. Not because I say so, but because they are. Because we live in a universe of infinite intelligence and infinite possibility, and we have that intelligence coursing through our veins. And as we allow ourselves to be still and know and step into that with ease and grace, we begin to be a beacon for that idea, that we can move beyond uncertainty, that it is only a doorway to something more, better, expansive, because that is the evolution, if you will, of life, the transformation of life, the moving forward in all that we do. And so I know right here, right now, for those that are here in person, that those are online, that we are stepping into tomorrow. with a new idea, with a new way of communication, with a new way of listening and feeling and knowing that God is here. And so it is in that understanding, in that moment of pure surrender, that we release any ideas of fear or anything that causes us to not lean on the everlasting arm of the Lord. Because it is there that we allow God to be God and for us to be the emissaries of that divine idea. And so we trust it, we hold on to it, and so we just release this whole idea, this prayer, this understanding into a law that is always working, knowing that it is right here, right now, and so it is. Amen. And so, as always, there's a call to action. These are big ones. So they'll be on the website. But this week, write down the top 3 uncertainties weighing on your heart. For each one, write this single question beside it. What might God be revealing through this? Don't try to answer it. Don't force a conclusion. Just sit with the question. Uncertainty invites us to reflect, and reflection opens us up to revelation. The act of writing it down is an act of faith. And then if you choose to go to the second step, identify one area in your life where you have been waiting for certainty before action. One dream deferred, one conversation delayed, one door you have not yet knocked on. This week, take one small action in that direction, even if you have no guarantee of the outcome. This is how we got to engage this thing called life, and this is how we do it. And so to anchor that, we have this affirmation to help center this. I stand at the starting block of the unknown. I breathe, I trust, I listen, and I move with faith, and so it is. And so it is now that time as we move for supporting this idea at CSL Denver. We are so grateful for your time, treasure, and talents, and we welcome you with open arms. And so there's many different ways to give. You can give here in the center. You can go to the website. You can send a mail to the P.O. box, but however you do, please give. And if it feels comfortable, as we anchor this idea into our lives, we place our hand on our heart if that feels comfortable, and we read this affirmation. This perfect gift is spirit-informed, circulating and blessing all that it touches. Freely I give, and joyously I receive, and so it is, amen. And so it is, amen. And so now Alice is going to come up and give us some announcements. And
thank you. Okay, we have the new May, June Science of Mind magazines available for sale. They are $10 a piece. We also have some older ones that are sitting on the table in front. So if you want to take, those are free. So if you want to take one or some or all of them home and read them, please feel free to. Let's see, it's a bi-monthly magazine. So like I said, it's the May, June. So help yourselves. And then today, right after service, after we have some coffee and some birthday cake for Jerry, we have the meditation and coffee social. So we'll circle up some chairs. We'll get in a circle if you are wishing to stay afterwards. And Reverend Elzia will lead a short meditation, and then we'll have some discussion. So that's always a good thing to do. Our Curiosity Corner, we've kind of culled out a lot of the books. The ones on the bargain basement table right now, they are going away next week. So they're $1 a piece on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, there are some other books. We've got a different price list. I had brought some Ernest Holmes books. We need to add some more because we don't have any more. We have one, Living the Science of Mind. And we are so blessed to have New Thought Media Network and Diego as our Sunday service producer. We invite you to go to www.ntmedia.org and check out what they have. They have something for everybody. They've got over 40 hours of weekly programming, prayers, discussions, podcasts, all kinds of stuff. So it's it helps for a weekly pick-me-up. And we are so truly blessed by everyone who has chosen to support CSL Denver by showing up on Sundays or watching our services online. We know that as we move through the rest of this year, as Reverend Elzia said, we have some uncertainty going on. So this is a place for us to get together in community and just and be with each other and talk about our uncertainties. And we know that the beloved is guiding each and every one of us. And so let's close out with Karen Drucker singing, I Am So Grateful.
Hey, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for all that I have. I'm so